You know, I actually do agree with SilverName, but I think control is one of the stronger aspects that he has as a player, Gallon, and he has just continued to bring non-control decks seemingly time and again to this event. Here he's brought Token Druid. This is a deck that has been, for all intents and purposes, extinct from the European region, and I think with good reason.
I think that Token Druid really fell off after the first couple weeks of Rise of Shadows. At the very beginning, people thought it was good, and then people realized, wait a second, Rogue just beats this up. If you look at his secondary and tertiary decks too, oh God, Argent Squire plus Direwolf Alpha just aren't the 1-2 punch you really need in specific matchups. His tertiary deck features 2 big game hunters in Token Druid. That is a 5 mana, 4 attack, and 2 health minion.
It's clearly a mage-oriented list in the tertiary.
It's clearly a mage-oriented list. I just don't think that's good.
There's not even a Snip Snap in here.
That's what I was talking about earlier. I think Snip Snap is the best card in Token Druid right now.
Oh, he's going up against Bozzzton, who is only including a single copy of Wagglepick, which I think is kind of a benefit in this matchup where Wagglepick's just not that good against Token Druid.
I agree with you. I think the Sea Giants landed very nicely against what SilverName brought. I think that Sea Giant is just a great card. It's going to be a 3 or 4 mana 8/8 a lot of the time. That's something that SilverName really doesn't have an answer to. I doubt he's going to switch to his big game hunter list just to counter the Sea Giant.
I would call that quite foolish, if you ask me. Even down to the secondary deck for Bozzzton there with 2 Betrayals and 2 Henge Clan Thugs. I feel like both of those cards even have potential against Token Druid, where you want to dagger up a lot on turn 2, and they're often going to make a board full of 1/1s, so Betrayal just represents killing 2 things for 2 mana.
I think that's interesting. If you did it, it would be as a mind game. I don't think it's the right choice, but he could try it out.
Look at that, Acorn Bear right off the start.
Bear, the only 1-drop in SilverName's deck. Arguably the most important card in the early game.
Now, I will say this. When Token Druid draws Acorn Bear, oftentimes I struggle against it.
Yes.
So you might take that and go, well, why not put in more 1-drops? The reason is because there is no other 1-drop in the game that does quite what Acorn Bearer does, which 2 attack for 1 mana, it gets you value when it's killed, and that value in your hand fuels one of your main cards in the deck, Whispering Woods.
Yes, it's just 3 things about it that all make the deck function quite nicely when it has it. However, he only has 2 in his deck. If he doesn't play Acorn Bear on turn 1, he's in a much worse spot. If he's not on coin and doesn't have Acorn Bear on 1, he's in a very bad spot because Whispering Woods suddenly doesn't do really anything compared to being on coin.
Yeah, I will say that for SilverName, having coin in the matchup, I think is important so that Bozzzton specifically cannot combo activate early.
Yes.
Because I think turn 1 dagger against Token Druid is actually quite a reasonable play. The reason why is because they will often be playing lots of 1 health minions. And when they're not playing 1 health minions and they lead with Acorn Bear, what that means is a coin dagger into attack. They play Dreamway Guardians, you attack again and dagger up. It means on your turn 3, if you have a 0-cost card, you can tempo their entire board out.
I want to point out that SilverName kept Archmage Vargoth. That is a hard card for Rogue to answer, even if it's kind of late game. It's funny that we say turn 4 is the late game of this, but it honestly is.
That's kind of the nature of a Token Druid matchup, is it will turn situations into an early late game curve, which is ideal for it. I mean, it wants to make a big wide board and then buff it.
I think it's a deck that if you're playing as it or against it, it will very quickly be determined who is winning the game.
Yeah. And here, the backstab draw from Bozzzton.
Oh, that's huge.
Clears out this board position, and SilverName already in a tough spot.
Bozzzton just has backstab SI7 as a follow-up. Mark of the Loa summons 2 health minions. If he tries to do that...
Well, he's going to play multiple things this turn, is what's going to happen.
Do you even do that, though? If you go Squirrel, Squirrel, Bozzzton just answers that with a dagger. Power of the Wild Squirrel.
Got to make him use it. Make them use their stuff and then play Archmage Vargoth.
I'm not even sure if that's a good strategy. I think what you want to do is overload your opponent. You want to play all of your stuff on 1 turn so that their dagger cannot answer everything. If you play your stuff out 1 at a time, dagger gets a lot better.
Yeah, that is initially what I thought as well. Paladin and Druid, unfortunately right now, are my 2 favorite classes. So I have played a lot of weird Token Druid decks. I actually convinced Dog, he's one of the Grandmasters players in Americas, I convinced him to play a wacky Token Druid deck I built that had Psych Melon, Juicy Psych Melon, and it had Rabble Bouncer and Sea Giant in it.
Yes.
He actually won the first 2 games on stream he played in Top 100 Legend, and then he changed the deck and promptly lost 4 afterwards.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is I'm a deck building genius. But what I'm more trying to say is that I've played a lot of Token Druid, and my initial instinct was to try to have more impactful turns overall by saving things. And what I found is that doesn't work. and that some of my most impactful cards in the matchup were actually Mark of the Loa and Archmage Vargoth. And the reason why is because I'm getting my opponent to expend tools in fear of board-wide buffs, and then something sticks to the board. So I think SilverName is spot on with this line here.
That makes sense. What is with casters loving weird druid decks? I was talking with Frodan about it. I watch him all the time. He's always queuing Lucent Bark Druid at rank 7.
I just like Druid. I don't know what... Dan queues weird decks. I will admit that. You know, I'm gonna take a sidestep here. I am surprised that Dan hits Legends with the deck that he plays. I'm serious. Like, he plays some of the weirdest decks I have ever seen. And I'm like, how did you hit Legend?
As a caster would say, they are quite interesting.
Nah, I would just say they're weird and bad looking.
Interesting looking.
All right, Gallon.
That was an interesting choice from Bozzzton.
Okay.
You know,
but you see what I mean by Mark of the Loa, though?
One thing I want to point out. Hear me out. This is probably terrible. We could have plot twisted away our entire hand. We have 2 Sharks, a Coin, and a Handclan Burglar. Those aren't cards that you want in this matchup.
Now you're officially now a caster.
I don't even think that was that bad. Has this been doing something to me?
Yes, that is a terrible play.
I really don't think it was that bad, man.
2 mana mulligan.
Look at your cards. You have dead card, kind of alive card. Dead card, right now, dead card. Handclan Burglar is your most alive card in your hand against a token druid.
There's
now you
no
don't
I'm
like
taking
it?
plot twist. There's
All
no
right.
I'm taking plot twist. We'll agree to disagree on that one.
I've got a plot twist for you. Archmage Vargoth is not being answered right now.
It also, I'm curious if it's getting played this turn, because SilverName on turn 6 has Dreamway Guardians with Archmage Vargoth. And so one of the ways that I see it is, how does he get punished in this game? And it's by not developing hard enough. And so that tells me that I want to use Dreamway Guardians, which means that I'm not saving it for Archmage Vargoth, which means I want to play Archmage Vargoth, which means I want to trade my 3-2. This is a weird spot.
Looking at both hands, I think the best play from SilverName is just play your Archmage Vargoth and not play the Squirrel.
Just trade.
Yep. You just
Oh,
trade.
no, I want to play Squirrel.
I don't want to play the Squirrel because there is a dagger up.
Make him use it. I'm serious.
I don't think that's that good. I think we could look at our next turn, right? If we play an Archmage Vargoth, we have 6 mana open. 2 of that is probably being used on the Dreamway Guardians, and then we have 4 mana left over, right? If you look at SilverName's plays, most of them are like 3 mana minions. I think we could easily fit in a 1 mana creature next turn. If it's getting daggered, sure, but if we have a Microtech controller, suddenly we have an extra 1/1 in play.
I want to make him use it.
I'm all for stuff in play, that's why I like the Vargoth, but I also hate stuff in play, that's why I hate the Squirrel.
I see it as that dagger represents something, and I don't want them to have it.
I think it's also very small. I think it's a marginal thing, but marginal things add up.
It's true. I mean, that's kind of the nature of a marginal thing, is that they take time to add up.
Yep.
But, you know, you look at this position, and Bozzzton would have a little bit more life. He wouldn't have to consider a dagger in this situation. It represents being able to attack on board if, for whatever reason, Bozzzton wants to hold the dagger. It means if you play Waggle Pick, he can't kill the 1/1.
Sure. Man, I still want to go back to that plot twist. I think he would have gotten even a sap off the top. Plot twisting that kind of hand is really good. You need your temple tools. Like, you could go coin, plot twist. Just hit the Edwin.
This is a big turn from SilverName.
That was good. A good turn. There's a clip somewhere of someone going prep fan into an Edwin off the top. It was like turn 3. He had no idea.
All right. Sea Giant turn is open here.
Evil K, we're at.
Big turn for Bozzzton as well. Yeah, you wanted to get rid of these Spirit of the Sharks, mind you.
I still kind of do.
No, I want to play a Sea Giant.
Oh, this is very cute. I like this play from Bozzzton a lot.
Oh, wow. He gets to rush the Sea Giant as well.
So good.
And you wanted to mulligan the hand. Get out of here with that, Gallon. Yeah, SilverName's... Yeah, he's in trouble. This is what happens every time, too. I get off at a good spot, and then I lose.
Rogue gets a card that is not in their deck, that is suddenly in their hand.
Now, I will say that if SilverName had Keeper Steladris here, this position actually, I think, is much different. I think Keeper Steladris here would actually give him a way to stay in this game quite favorably, actually. He would have 4 extra cards in hand to fight with if Steladris was able to come down this turn. So what I look at this turn is, this is interesting. I want to I really want to Whispering Woods, and just leave the Sea Giant alone. I think that Bozzzton's still the one under pressure and not you technically.
That's a big pickup. Soul of the Forest is one of the ways we can actually fight this board.
It is looking to me like he wanted to dig for something that offers him a more specific game plan, because right now the game plan is quite open. And so because he's not drawing that, Savage now becomes a defense card, and he's looking at Whispering Woods, Soul of the Forest next turn.
Good order from SilverName.
Yep, you get to lifesteal back, so tanking this damage means nothing.
Love it. Just good sequencing.
We do have a game here, though. I mean, Bozzzton's hand doesn't really generate a ton of value right now. It takes some time to do that.
So we could go Life Drinker here over Henchland Burglar into next turn, Spirit of the Shark.
I was thinking about that too. I think that Bozzzton is seeking the same thing that SilverName was last turn. He needs a bigger answer here. He needs to know what direction his game is headed.
I think that 4-3 and a 3-3 do pretty much the exact same thing in this spot, and we are very quickly running out of stuff.
Yes.
Now, he got a very fortunate outcome off of his Henchland Burglar here. You got a Prismatic Lens. That is going to draw cards. That is very important for your game plan.
Not only that, the spells cost 4 and 0, and some of the minions cost big and big.
Well, sometimes the minions cost 0. That Sea Giant was, what, 1 mana?
Yeah, but it'll swap 10 on the spell if it's drawn.
10 mana Backstab.
Not good. SilverName's got fighting power now. Lacking ways to draw cards has been my biggest problem with Token Druid. And so I'm looking at Forest's Aid probably being the best remaining draws in SilverName's deck for a while.
I mean, you just compare the two decks and how well they use their deck. Token Druid doesn't at all. You're relying on drawing like a couple specific cards.
I just saw them on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Now this is
Not good outcome, though.
But we're against Token Druid. I think that it's actually okay.
It's okay, but...
Remember, we can trade our 4-3 and then just make it a 6-drop.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going for it. He's just clear off everything.
I think clearing off as much as possible has a lot of merit to it, because you can turn the Life Drinker.
But if you make the 4-3 a 6-drop, you have to be trading here, right? You weapon 1-1.
I'd be pretty shocked if he wasn't trading in some capacity here.
Otherwise, this does not make sense to me. I think that this play only makes sense if we're killing off as much as possible. If we weren't doing that, then we should have just made a 6-drop. Okay, so he's going for it.
I don't want to attack another 1-1 here, though.
I also like going face. I think that was a little bit overcommitting to trading. SilverName's hand is just dead. I don't think you can really draw gas as Token Druid. He's looking at the Forest Aid as being the only really good card in his deck. Meanwhile, Bozzzton has so many good draws.
Cable Rat can still get a Spell Discover.
Bozzzton runs Heist Bear and Togwaggle.
It's an excellent point.
That's like 25 Forest Aids. I think one Heist Bear and Togwaggle will beat 5 Forest Aids.
Like head-to-head?
Well, not all at the same time. But like, if you gave Bozzzton a Heist Bear and Togwaggle now...
Or an Edwin Van Cleef.
Yeah, that beats it too. It's interesting that he's going for Prismatic Lens. I feel like...
Yeah, his thought, I think, is what battle cries do I fetch that matter? There's still quite a few. And they actually are going to cost very little as well.
Sure. I do like seizing tempo this turn as much as possible.
So this turn, I mean, he gets Life Drinker, Goblin Lackey, Witchy Lackey, the Life Drinker, and then Edwin Van Cleef.
Yeah, and the Edwin gets doubled,
That's
too.
massive pressure.
I don't think SilverName has mastered that. Life Drinker gets double 3 damage.
And War Druid Lodi takes a turn to get active. I was just thinking about the War Druid Lodi last turn, setting it as a poisonous minion.
You know who's a big fan of War Druid Lodi?
Nobody.
That's not true. I think purple and orange, they're both Hearthstone Grandmasters in different regions. They always try to fit War Druid Lodi in the weirdest Druid decks. They'd put it in Togwaggle Druid.
I like it. It's just...
I saw purple win so many games that he shouldn't have against Even Lock.
Oh, so he's favoring not even the evolves this turn, just more stuff. Wants more attacks on board. And the Edwin is huge. 2-turn lethal now. No, not now, Steladris. Man, I'm with you. I think that SilverName just did not bring the right deck. I think this deck has been provably weak in tournament play and in ladder play.
Just in general, I think the deck just isn't as strong. He has to make a 1-2 poisonous. That means that a 14/14 is connecting phase. We still have a prismatic lens. Rogue is just so good at every point of the game. They can play aggressive strategy, but they still have value in their deck. Token Druid can play an aggressive strategy, but if they don't draw the cards that they need, they are going to fizzle out incredibly quickly. Not the best.
No, that's a bad swap up. Hey, you know what? That's 2 cards, though.
You know what? Bozzzton is still going to win this game, not by the skin of his teeth. He's going to win by a mile.
Yeah, 14 connecting is
as
a lot.
long as Bozzzton sees that Edwin is green and his opponent can have his life total lowered, we're going to game 2.
He's thinking about what draws for SilverName impact him here.
Might even be debating about what he vendettas.
Well, I want to kill the War Druid Lodi, so it's dead.
You know, this is actually really fun. This is hear me out. Is a random 4-drop better than 3/3 stat line?
I don't think so. I think it can be. I think I would rather have my 3-drop than my 4-drop and 2-drop. I don't know. It is a 2/3.
No, I was gonna say something very dumb. You definitely witchy lackey. That one.
Why?
You're saying you'd rather have a random 3-drop than a random 2-drop?
I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's dead. All right, he's not dead, but he's dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just what? There's no draw that gets him out of this.
There's none. Evil Cable Rat
That's lethal.
would be the draw that gets him out of this.
Bozzzton up a game.
This guy's toast.
Bozzzton had a pretty fire start, though. Like, if you look at this rogue hand in totality and compare it, Boston's hand was magnificent.
I think that SilverName had about as good of a start as he could have asked for. He had an Acorn Bearer turn 1. He had Archmage Vargoth, and it wasn't answered. He got lots of value.
Well,
out of
Vargoth
that
was
card.
sapped.
Yes, but that's not really answered, right?
I think it is. You have to spend 4 more mana on it.
Yeah, but that's something that SilverName was fine doing.
I don't know, man. I think if he doesn't sap it, the thing to me that I look at is the not playing the Vargoth early. I wanted to play the Vargoth as soon as possible because I had Mark of the Loa in my hand.
You wanted to play it before Mark of the Loa.
Yeah,
sure.
Because landing Archmage Vargoth into Mark of the Loa can get you either 4 3/2s. It can double buff a minion. So, like, you know, sap's going to hurt either way that you slice that. But I think if you risk the Archmage Vargoth there as well, it prompts your opponent to have to respond in not necessarily an efficient way. But at the end of the day, to me, I don't have a problem with the gameplay that SilverName had. I think he played it pretty darn well. I have a problem with bringing this deck right now.
Yeah, you can play as well as anyone. If you bring a bad list, you're still going to lose.
I think it could have just been so much better. Like, RDU literally just said in the previous match, he thinks that this was the week to bring Mech Hunter.
SilverName just should have stuck by it.
Why now? Why now?
0-3 just wasn't the time.
SilverName is moving over to the secondary list, and that's going to cut 2 Dreamway Guardians, 2 Evil Cable Rat, and a Microtech controller. He's going to add in 2 Ardent Squire, 2 Direwolf Alpha, and a Sea Giant.
I don't really know if this does anything. I think all of those cards sound very similar in power level. You know, you're not really increasing your matchup by a bunch. I don't really have anything to say about this, but okay. What does this do?
I like Sea Giant.
I like Sea Giant. Bozzzton likes Sea Giant.
Boston's got 2 of them, and he's sticking with it. It's specialist here, so you have a primary deck that you must queue in game number 1, and then you have a secondary and a tertiary deck, which can be up to 5 cards different from your initial list. You can use any of your 3 decks in games 2 and 3, and your goal is just to win 2 out of those 3 games. So oftentimes when we see players have very dedicated side decks to counter particular matchups that, you know, are often strong against their archetype, that really is the mechanism that I think we have seen most attempted and least used. The most used effect that we've had is supplementary cards to a particular matchup.
Sure. No one has had like a completely dedicated, I have this strategy yet.
Yeah.
I think Bozzzton is still just going to take this. I don't see him I mean, SilverName has 1 Sea Giant now. Bozzzton has 2.
I just think Rogue just has such strong tools versus wide boards.
You notice Bozzzton even keeping SI7 Agent off the coin.
It's a matchup dependent keep.
Yep, and I think in this matchup, you're dependent on your SI7.
Kill stuff so it's dead.
Makes sense to me.
Pretty rough looking hand from Bozzzton though. I think this is one of those games that SilverName has opportunity in. But the draw,
The light protects me.
I think it's going to come down for Bozzzton here to pick up a card that makes sense here.
Blinkbox is that card.
I'm thinking backstab.
Honestly, you even think about this matchup and how Argent Squire lines up against Dagger turn 1, and you say, wow, that is terrible.
Well, I'm looking at the way Lodi lines up versus this, and it's looking pretty good. 1/6
Fair
taunt.
enough.
1/6 taunt here is actually pretty darn powerful.
Yep. If you go coin 1/6 after your Argent Squire, that's the spot where you can beat Rogue.
Yeah. I'm reluctant to use landscaping here due to backstab SI7 agent. I'm reluctant to let my Argent Squire go.
He's going for landscaping. I really like your play of Roger Lodi for a 1/6. Yes, sometimes you get more damage this way, but if Bozzzton has backstab SI7 agent,
That's rare to have, though. I mean, it has to be 2 specific cards.
I think it's not even that rare to have. I would say that it's uncommon, but it happens more than 10% of the games that you play.
Sure. I don't have a problem with this. I don't have a problem with any of his plays. I like the Lodi play because of the setup with all the buffs in hand. You get to follow up with... Oh my,
That is so good. Because now we have Crystal Power SI7 agent. That is something that SilverName will not see coming. You just can't play around that.
So I think he's going for a buff this turn then. I think it's, now that you've drawn Argent Squire, it's probably Argent Squire and Power of the Wild. Because that makes the trades on board look weird, and it prevents a backstab SI7 agent from being, you know,
The
either one of
light
those draws
protects me.
being powerful. We have a game.
Just go face. Why are we missing damage, Admirable? We're the aggressive deck.
I don't know. I'm kind of curious what he's going to do with the Blink Fox.
I'm curious why he's missing 3 damage. That's 10% of your opponent's life total.
I mean, Boston's got to trade.
That's a yes, exactly. That's a free Sinister Strike. Admirable, you can Sinister Strike your opponent in the face for free. Do you take it?
I mean, heck, I pay 1 for that card. I'll play the heck out of Sinister Strike. That's 10% of their life.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the way SilverName has sequenced his resources has just been not the best. The coin landscaping, I feel like it was only good. I don't even
He's just
want to
putting
say
maximum stuff on board. That's what he's doing every turn.
I understand that, but sometimes Hearthstone is not, again, it's not about putting maximum stuff on board. It's about how do I both move my game plan forward, but also deny my opponent's game plan. You know, Wardrobe Lodi was probably the best at that. Remember, because we played landscaping, Bozzzton could just dagger a 1/1. He gave Bozzzton the free kill.
All of Boston's plays are strong.
I'm looking at Crystal Power, Weapon, and then just use your SI7 agent.
I'm looking at Crystal Power SI, use the weapon SI.
Yes, exactly. That's
Yeah.
what, yep. Just use your SI a bunch this turn.
This guy's toast.
Don't kill the Acorn Bear, because why would you do that? He spots it.
This guy's toast.
Of course he's going to spot that. Bozzzton is actually quite good, even though he's at a 1-5 record. I've actually, you know, at DreamHack, at HTT Philadelphia last year, I stayed with Bozzzton at the hotel for a couple days.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Did you know that he is a ping pong national champion? Junior national champion? I believe for Sweden.
He looks like a ping pong junior national champion.
He's very good at it.
You know, I remember at summer camp I played ping pong, and I just getting crushed. I was like 11 or 12 years old. I remember. And there was one guy who just beat everybody. And there was like a ping pong tournament every summer. And I was like, hey, can you teach me how to play? He's like, yeah, sure. Next year I show up, he's like showing me some stuff again. And I was like, man, how'd you get so good at ping pong? He's like, oh, I'm a junior national champion. And I was like, I really want to beat this guy. 4 years in a row, never beat him. But I got second place to him a lot. He was good, and he taught me a lot of stuff. That game's hard.
I think it's ping pong is one where there's just so many skill levels. You might think you're really good at the game, and then someone shows up and just whoops you.
It's like playing Smash. Everyone thinks they're so good, and then you play against someone who's like, you know, okay, and they just demolish you, and you're like, Oh my gosh, I am horrible at this game.
I could go on about that topic a lot, but we're playing Hearthstone right now, so.
Dan, very good Smash. Don't play him. Well, do play him, but don't think you're going to beat
Who
him.
do you think teaches him everything?
The internet?
Well, yeah, partially that.
Bozzzton's got to take a slow turn here. That's an opening for SilverName.
So many options.
I mean, I'm looking at 12 lined up if Bozzzton doesn't kill anything on board.
You wonder if you just start with Evil Cable Red here.
I kind of just want to jam Life Drinker.
If you start with Evil Cable Rat, you could Shadow Step your Evil Cable Rat. I think what you need to avoid here is looking at Spirit of the Shark. I think Spirit of the Shark is influencing your play too much a lot in this spot.
If he's playing Spirit of the Shark, his eye is Life Drinker the next turn to get its effect back. This gives him a dagger, too.
Yes, but the problem is he's leaving up minions in play. Okay, so if he's doing this, I'm not sure if I like this as much as just playing the Rat here, but I like this a lot more than the Evil Cable Rat.
Instantaneous.
Well, yeah.
SilverName.
We missed 3 damage. We got to hit him in the face. You know what? Actually, looking back on it, I think Spirit of the Shark attack was
Yeah,
the
it's
right
good.
move. Yeah, it was
Very
good.
good.
It was very good.
And now you can Life Drinker. You can Shadow Step it. You can Evil Cable Rat. Look for good cards. Those are very
great
good
one.
cards. Oh my gosh. Boy, he can't.
SilverName needs to top deck swipe,
No, SilverName can't win the game now.
but here's the thing: he doesn't have the mana for swipe.
Yeah, like
Bozzzton won.
Bozzzton just hit Jin.
Bozzzton just won. As long as he plays his cards so that they're in play, Bozzzton has won this game.
Oh my
How much
gosh.
damage do you even have? There's just so much. Boston's going to Shadow Step his Evil Cable Rat. Makes a lot of sense. SilverName just hasn't got the bad news yet.
From nothing.
Any of these spells, and it would have been good.
Whoa! Stop! He's just a druid, man.
Leave the poor guy alone. Token Druid is so bad. I'm going to say that right now.
Whoa, everything looks bad against this. My gosh.
Wait, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I want to point something out. Boston is at 8 life.
Oh,
Swipe
no.
plus hero power is 5 damage.
Oh,
we
no.
missed 3 this game. Could SilverName have won this?
I mean, it's a different world if he attacks face because...
Yeah, it's a
there's-
world that we're winning in.
I agree with you, but does it open you to anything on the other side? I don't know. And
Yeah,
so,
you're saying that Boston may have played
it's
his Life Drinker
yeah,
instead.
it's like a cascading effect if you push that damage instead of how Bozzzton will respond to it. So missing the damage if Bozzzton follows through on this exact same line where he trades the 3/3 and goes forward, yes.
Sure.
But I don't think that this would have been the same line.
Sure.
So
It's hard to say.
I think at the end of the day, he's just short of it happening.
I mean, I think you still need to push that 3 damage. Well, counterpoint, if Boston takes a different line, then one of SilverName's minions is living.
I agree with you.
He can push extra damage.
That's what I mean. It's a cascading effect. You would have to sit down and analyze the game.
Yes, he could Wrath his... Yeah, I mean, there's
The
just so
idea that
many
we could
branches.
do that in 20 minutes is ridiculous, let alone 75 to
Let's
80
simplify it
seconds.
down. When you can hit your opponent in the face for free, you should take it.
Yeah. It was not a priority minion for Boston's side.
Yeah. We're just going to go through the motions here, but Boston has this locked up. Does he even have lethal next turn? I think he might. He has 6, 10, 14, 15.
I'm counting.
Dead's dead.
I'm counting tons of damage.
Yep.
Boston. Very clean 2-0 here over SilverName. It looked a little bit close at the end. But at the end of the day, I think that even if SilverName had pushed more damage, we fall into a similar fate here because Boston just had the answers.
I think that this just came down to deck choice.
I agree with you. That means Boston wins a score on a critical match total right now to move up to 2 and 5. He has to turn this back half around, and it started right here with a clean 2-0 over SilverName. Now, I will say, I think Boston has had the fate of a lot of unfortunate circumstances.
Sure.
And I think that has reflected on him in some situations where some of the technical play gets messy. in spots where at the end of the day it ultimately will not matter. He's just losing the game due to an unfortunate circumstance. But here, just pretty clean, straightforward, play the good deck and play it good.
Yeah, he's got to start, but he just cannot stop from this point.
Yeah, just got to keep going through with it, through and through. And so, you know, I look at Rogue right now. It's been the top dog, but we had 3 archetypes in play just this week alone, and I've heard rumblings and whisperings of the Pogo Hopper deck continuing to go through different iterations and find changes, find new game plans, and move away from a more greedy package I think that it has right now, even though it's already been trimmed. But either way, Bozzzton takes a win here, and a big win. Bozzzton, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Hey, congratulations on your win. This was a very critical win for you as you get to the halfway point now at a 2-5 record. Talk to me about Rogue this week and how the Rise of the Mechs patch impacted your preparation for this week.
Yeah, we tried a lot of different stuff with the new buffs, but like there is some good cards and something that has potential, but we didn't really want to set ourselves like up for something that might not be that good. So we just felt like, or I felt like Rogue was just super strong. So might as well just go for it this week as well. I swapped in the Sea Giants this week from last week. I played Rogue last week as well, but that went really bad last week. But I still felt like Rogue was the way to go, especially with Colento and SilverName as my opponents.
And so I want to ask you about some of the decks that you were trying. You mentioned that you didn't have the time really to find a list you were confident in. What things were interesting you that you really wanted to bring but just couldn't?
Yeah, there is the cards that people have been talking about. The 1-mana Crystology, for example, Mech Hunter, seeing a bit of play with the new stuff. There's some interesting stuff. I don't want to reveal too much with Vegas coming up, so gonna keep that to myself for now.
Understandably.
So Bozzzton, I really liked how you sequenced that one turn to kill Archmage Vargoth with your Sea Giant. I thought that was well executed. How do you feel about Token Druid in general? Do you think it is a good deck list?
No, I think SilverName's deck list was extremely bad, to be honest. I think it's very inconsistent. It doesn't have too much minions. So, like, I did a lot of practice sets, and like it just ended up this way. I never lost pretty much. I just felt like I can't lose this matchup if they're not on the coin and go coin Whispering Woods. That's like how I lose. Or they have the perfect 1-drop into Whispering Woods of coin. But like other than that, they can't have one bad turn because then Rogue just steals the tempo. So, and for that list to have one turn that's not bad is like super hard to get.
And so talking about Vegas, you mentioned that earlier. What's your practice schedule been like? Is it tough to balance it with Grandmasters in that regard? Do you have a boot camp planned? What do your plans look like in terms of preparation for the Masters Tour in Vegas?
I mean, it's been kind of same, like trying to get one Grandmaster, and Vegas is pretty much the same, just testing out stuff. But upcoming days, I will really do my best to find optimal for Vegas and try to predict what others will bring, because I think that is the biggest key, to predict what others are bringing mostly. So try to build something good around that. But it will be very interesting. I'm super happy for going to Vegas.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Bozzzton. I look forward to seeing you in Vegas, and hopefully you can put something together there, because I'd love to see one of the Grandmasters take a tournament win down here in a big way. So congratulations, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice evening.
Big win.
He said that he thought Grandmasters was similar to Vegas. That is not a sentiment shared by previous people.
That's exactly where I was about to go for it. I'm glad that you picked it up, because the difference between Grandmasters and the Masters Tour in Vegas is in Grandmasters, the players submit deck lists week to week. They have 2 specific opponents that they know they're playing against. And I've heard so many rumblings of players talking about, well, this is the style that my opponent brings, and so I try to do something against that. And a lot of mind games are taking place. And when you look at a field like Vegas, you're playing 14 rounds with the same lineup in that one. You're basically playing the entire Grandmaster season mushed into one weekend against unknown opponents in that regard. And so is it better to just have a strong deck that drives its own game plan, or is it better to be able to predict a field that is going to bring similar styles decks and try to counter that? And I think that's going to be one of the most interesting questions to answer that weekend.
I think Bozzzton is going to find Las Vegas pretty comfortable. He made his name last year in large open style tournaments. I think that is where he is most comfortable. So I'll be excited to see how he does.
Yep, I definitely have my eye on the players who racked up a ton of points traveling Masters Tour last year. So we can take a look at the standings and see how things are shaping up after that one. He's not quite dead yet, but it's getting close. SilverName at 1-6. This has been a rough first half here for SilverName in this one, but I think that's what's going to happen when you bring some of the risky choices that he's brought.
I just do not. I don't even think it's risky. I will call it bad.
We see it differently. I think Mech Hunter and Token Druid have matchups that are good. I think that your opponent has to bring those matchups, or it's not a payoff.
My problem is that the matchups are so good for the other opponent that it's just not worth bringing.
I'm not going to disagree with that, but that's what risk is. Does it pay off or does it not? Sometimes it doesn't.
A lot of the time, it doesn't.
A lot of the time, it does not. So that's our match of the day in the books. And Bozzzton trying to turn it back around and maybe can have a big Vegas and bounce back after that. We'll have to find out, but we'll also have to find out who's going to win between Tice and Fino. Fino still undefeated alongside no one else at this point. Monsanto lost his match in Americas yesterday, so we'll go to break. When we come back, we're going to find out if he can defend his undefeated record versus Tice, of all people. 2 more matches of Hearthstone coming up. Stay tuned.